We'll do it live. Okay, so yeah. Howdy, all. This is Kyle. I'm joined today by John Cranman. Sorry for the late start. It was I would say it's been a crazy day, but it's really been more of a crazy weekend. So, but anyway, John, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Very, very glad to be here, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Much
So
appreciated.
just I do want to just kind of lay out some expectations up for the audience a little bit. Later on in the interview, we're going to be talking spoilers about John's latest film. You can't stop what's coming. So you can't stop what's coming. The spoilers are happening. So if you want to avoid the spoilers, what I would recommend is you've got two different options. One, I've got the link in the description for where the film is hosted. You just go down there, you pay $2 to rent the movie or buy the movie for a little bit more. I'm not sure of the pricing on that. Alternatively, you can go into my Discord server. I've paid basically the price of admission to watch this. If you're watching it live, like if you're watching this in the future, like the link in the description is your only shot. But if you're watching it live, go into my Discord server. Click the link that's in there that everybody's been tagged in. Use code Kyle 2023, all caps, no spaces, and then watch it. It's like a 3-minute film. It's really, really good. Highly recommend that. So I'm going to give you all a chance to do that. And in the meantime, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and what you've got going on?
Okay, so it's kind of a long story. I was a videographer in our local church, and before that, I worked in a restaurant. I was basically a glorified line cook for many, 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 many years. And I just picked up a camera like around 2011, just started messing around, got into filmmaking, started doing weddings on the side, and all that led to me getting hired at a church. My buddy was a pastor there, and he saw my work outside of just some of the things I put together. And I got hired in a church. So I was their videographer for about 2.5 years. I was their one and only videographer. They made the position for me. And at the time when I was at the restaurant, I was praying. I felt like the restaurant was great. I had a great relationship there. I was there for a very long time, but I felt very stretched, like it's time to leave. And I didn't know what God was leading me to. So I was just praying and assuming it would be just another job type of thing. Mm-hmm. And the longer I prayed, the more that I saw like nothing was on the horizon, like not a blip, except my buddy who kept propositioning me to come to the church. He was going to make a position and do video, and and he knew that I felt called to ministry, and he just kept at it. He was very persistent, and at first I was like, I don't. This is a hobby. I don't see this as like a ministry type of thing. It felt really weird to me. I didn't want to force it. A lot of people, people golf, people go fishing, it's just a hobby. It doesn't mean it's like a ministry. It's something you do at a church. And so it didn't compute for me. And, but the longer I kept praying and I felt like providentially the Lord direct me to really kind of listen to what he had to say and give it a shot. And so I felt like, okay, this is probably the thing I've been praying for. There's nothing else. And so I took a step of faith, and I'm going to leave a bunch of stuff out. But anyway, there was definitely confirmation that this is what I was supposed to do. Like financially, it was a very good deal. Like the pay I got there, I worked less and got paid very well. So
nice.
It was, and then as soon as I got there, about two or 3 weeks in, the church, who didn't really know me from Adam, never had this position. They dropped a buttload of cash for me to go purchase a bunch of gear. Nice. And I there was very little oversight. I was trustworthy with it, but it wasn't like right. It was odd to me that a church would do this on somebody they didn't really know, on a position they just started. I wouldn't have done that. Right. And so to me, this was confirmation that this is where I need to be. And God, there was a blessing involved. And so once I did that, I really went to town, and my motto at the time was, I'm going to get equipment that covers air, sea, and land. I bought a drone. I bought underwater housing. I bought a bunch of cameras. I was like, I'm going to go crazy and just be as creative as I can at this church. And so that's what I did. And I felt like I grew quite a bit. But underneath all of that, I always felt like the desire to tell my own stories. My mind is always running. I used to play in bands. I'd always like envision like music videos and things like that. So there's always kind of like a narrative going on in my head. And so long story short, I ended up, we had some issues with our pastor, and he had to forcibly resign. And it wasn't nothing major, but there was enough where the church didn't really give it a lot of details. And a lot of people were upset about that. So there was like a giant exodus from the church, and we took a huge budget cut. And I was like one of 5 people that got laid off. And so I'm kind of like, wow, what am I going to do now? And the town I live in, there's no other position like I have. Our town is not that big. There's no like church video jobs just down the road. So I sent resumes out like out of state. That's where I figured, okay, this is going to have to be an out of state thing. And again, we went to prayer through it, and just we're trusting God in it. And I got so many bites on my resumes. I got so close to getting hired, but for some reason, the deal never finished, never went through. And in the meantime, people were coming to me locally for freelance work. And it was another one of those things. I was just praying, okay, God, what do you have for me next? And it was kind of like, look what's in front of you. And so I went freelance. And even doing freelance, you're doing other people's work. That bug in me to write my own stuff never went away. So I started dabbling with doing my own short films. I did my first in 2019. It's basically a music video with like a little narrative. But so I took a step of faith, put that together. And a lot of the people that knew me from church supported it financially and helped me kind of get that going. And so I did that. Went to release it, and I released it in 2020. And I was super pumped because it was getting accepted in film festivals, and then COVID hit, and that like knocked the wind out of my sails. And I was basically on pause for like a year and a half. I went from like being super excited and felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing to like, okay, God, I don't even know what I'm doing now. Like what is, I lost a bunch of work. I was on unemployment for a very long time. And this baby was still in me that I had to like give birth to. Like it just did not go away. I got very depressed. And it was a dark night of the soul. That's all I can say. Yeah. And for me, everybody has. Let me know if I should shut up too, because I'm just kind of.
No, yeah, story, no, just. I guess I will take this brief pause just for those tuning in, just now tuning in. This is like your spoiler alert. So, if you're in my Discord, you know what's up there. If you're not, there's a link in the description. Go down, click the video. That takes you to your website. Actually, it's hosted on your specific website, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't stop what's coming. Go click on it. Mute the stream. Don't worry, we're just shooting the breeze. We're just kind of laying the groundwork a little bit. Go watch it. Pay the $2, and then come back because we're going to be talking spoilers. We're going to be talking spoilers here probably in about the next 10 minutes or so. So, but anyway, so okay, y'all have been warned. Okay.
Yeah. So this story kind of leads up to the film. That's why it's kind of the impetus for this film. So that's why I feel like I need to tell. Dark Night of the Soul. I remember praying and experiencing just the silence of God, just this dead silence. Like nothing was on the radar, like no answer, no Bible verse. Like sometimes like I've prayed and like, I'll look at my devotional and something will really jump out and encourage. There's like nothing for months. Yeah. And I have a family. I have 4 little kids. I have a wife. And I just remember I got to the point where I just didn't want to wake up because for me, my Isaac in life is my purpose. Like, what am I here to do? I have to have a purpose. I have to feel like I'm here for some reason. And I lost that and I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was filmmaking. I thought, all these things were like lining up and all this long sequence of events and just utter silence. And I remember I got to the point where I was like, okay, if I keep going down this road, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So I remember I had to make a decision, and I had to, regardless of whether my circumstances changed or not, I had to decide whether I was going to trust God in this or not. And I had to make the choice, like, just prudentially, I need to just trust God, because I have a family. I have to carry on. I have to carry on. I can't let this get to me like that. And so I did. And nothing in my circumstances changed except I changed. And I remember little by little, the depression kind of started clearing away. And I just remember just meditating on like the word, and just kind of trusting in what I knew from the past, the things that God has done for me up until this point. And that kind of gave me strength. And just little by little, step by step, I kind of came out of that fog. But there was still the big question of like, okay, God, I still feel like I have this baby, this vision, this dream. I want to keep making films, but are you still in this? Like, I don't feel depressed, but are you still in this? Should I still continue this? Still silence. And so I kind of just took little baby steps and worked on a few small projects. And one of them involved an Indian dancer, which is very niche. And I don't know any Indians. And I remember praying to find a dancer for this particular film I was working on. And I just went cold turkey. I drove to a local Indian powwow and just started shaking hands. And through just meeting different people, I was able to secure a dancer, not just any dancer, but one of the world hoop champ dancers. This young guy who looked the part. A lot of times when you go to these local powwows in Florida, you get a lot of like, you go there expecting a certain type of person to participate. What you end up finding is a lot of like boomer hippies. These are the people dressing up they're like a bunch of white guys. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I need somebody who actually looks the part. And I could not find them at these powwows, but I ended up through a series of connections, I ended up getting this young kid. He looked the part, he looked ethnic, and he was also like a world-class champion dancer. And he came out for me, came out for free. I paid him anyway. And we went to a studio, and that project ended up kind of putting a little bit of wind in my sails. And I was like, okay, God, that was kind of weird how that worked out. I was able to find this guy, and this is a little unexpected. So I was like, all right, let me take the next step. And this is where You Can't Stop What's Coming came into being. And I don't know if I can get into some spoilers now, but basically the story is about, the impetus of the story is, what if you lost everything? And can I talk about spoilers now, or?
Well, I guess before we get into that, I guess I want to send off like one final warning shot to the audience. But if you're good, if you want to fire that warning shot now, we're good.
All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll come back to the spoilers, but that's, know what I'm talking about because you've seen the film. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And so the story is kind of like a meditation on that. What if you lost everything? Okay. And so I began, the pieces began coming into place for the film. I had a story, I had a piece of music, and then the next part is fundraising, which is my favorite part, because you have to ask people for money, and I just cannot stand that. But I felt like, okay, I just all these other things are falling into place. I drove to Georgia on a handshake, and the location you saw there, like I don't know these people that own this. I met that guy on a handshake, and all of these things gave me the faith to step out and just, okay, let's just do this whole thing. Let's ask. I'm going to trust God with the finances, all of it, because all these other things were lining up, and it's like, so I did, and so the film came together. It was the experience shooting it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It's so stressful for a director, like, because especially if it's your baby, you've written it, you're the one kind of overseeing it. You're producing it as well. A lot of times for indie filmmakers, you're wearing all these hats, so you're just really attached, and you're very worried about things, and you just want to make sure everything kind of comes together and clicks. And so the filming experience was just wonderful. So, and I got to see like all of this clicked. I got to see like the providence of God. My DP, a DP is a director of photography. So I'm the director. I'm telling people what to do, but a director of photography, is your cameraman. He's the guy who kind of brings in the lighting and kind of makes the image look nice. And we kind of work together. My DP is a Christian. He was a former atheist. He's doing a documentary about the evidence for God. And and maybe he could share a little bit about his. He's got a link. He's doing some fundraising for it. But he came on set and he was just like witnessing to people, and all these other things, man. All the conversations that were happening on set were like, man, I love this, because the people I work with are not all believers. They're from wherever. They're just the people I trust God with. My actors, my crew. These are the people I trust for God to kind of fill in the blanks. But seeing all these things on set, the way the filming, everything just kind of fell together. The weather was great. The lighting was perfect. Everything just fell together, and it boosted my faith even more. And I was like, okay, God has not left me. I feel like this is still what he wants me to do. I'm going to launch a film company on top of all this. And this is where Signal Films came in. And so that's kind of, that's the story. And I can share a little more of the vision of Signal Films later.
I wanted to like pay you a compliment. It's so interesting hearing like how that happened there. And, you know, so obviously your faith is very much a driving force in all of this, which is phenomenal. However, you know, a lot of times in this day and age, whenever we hear Christian film, what we really hear is mediocre film. However, like for you, I could see that the Christian themes were absolutely there. However, like that didn't compromise the quality at all. And like, I don't know, do you have any insights on like, why do you think that is? Like, why are Christian films typically trash?
Because I think people are, I think it comes down to people are using film as a means to an end. They're using art as a means to an end, and they use it for sermonizing. And there's sort of, and I could see like when I first became a Christian, I kind of did that a little bit with certain music and things that I would kind of dabble in. But it comes to a point where you have to kind of back away and let the story speak for itself. And I think what happens a lot of time is people are so eager to get the word out that they're so eager that they'll sacrifice the story and the quality and letting the art do its thing, letting the art breathe on its own. And you know, their intentions are well, but it's just that the craft suffers as a result. And I think just from reflecting on this for a long time, I feel like Christian art is the fact that it's terrible right now, or there's some good stuff out there. There's some pockets of really good stuff, but generally speaking, on the pop level, it's terrible, and it's an anomaly, because when you actually look at history, even recent history, like Christian art was the pinnacle. You know, especially if you go back to like the Renaissance and especially in the West. I mean, my God, dude, like the greatest artists of our civilization were creating odes to God, either through sculpture, painting, music, you know. And I would say even more recently, even in the like with literature, you know, you go into like the late 19th century, you have like people like Charles Dickens, Dostoevsky, and this is great literature. And a lot of these have Christian themes, even up until the 20th century. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that out there. But for some reason, things kind of took a dive. And it's kind of like, and this is where we are. But it's like, this is not our legacy. And I feel like we just really need to broaden and really understand just the value of art and just what art can do and the power of story and what we as Christians can participate in. We don't have to we don't have to sermonize. We really don't have to do that. There's a place for that. You know, like some of the films that Signal Films we're going to produce is some of it will be very overt. It's not going to be subtle. You know, I plan on doing, I have this vision for dramatic apologetics. And it's sort of like, we present like an argument for God in a dramatic fashion. And an idea would be something like the moral argument. We begin with a story, maybe some guy on a city block, and he's talking about a child that was just gunned down. Something that really bad happened in real life. And then it leads to like God, like what do we make of this? And it leads to like the moral argument, something like that, where there's a story involved. And so I think we really need, as Christians, we just need to broaden what the means that we can tell a story, and we don't have to sermonize. And I think, and a lot of times the films and books and things we enjoy as Christians, they don't have gospel calls. They don't all like, I think of like a film like Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
that a Christian could have made that film.
Yeah.
You know what
Or
I
like
mean?
Lord of the
There's so
Rings.
many. Yes. There's
Yeah.
like if I could see my film company, you know, if God willing, doing something like a Star Wars. There's like zero gospel call in it, but there are Christian elements and themes in it. There is this transcendent force, which is sort of like, that's like God, you know, the force
Mm-hmm.
will be with you always. That's like the end of the Gospels. I will be
Right.
with you until the end of the age.
Yeah.
And there's this struggle of good and evil. There's things that we can glean just from a good story, you know. And I feel like if Christians, if we really want to make an impact on culture, we really need to broaden the kind of stories we can actually tell. We don't have to sermonize all the time. Just tell a
Mm-hmm.
dang good story, and just make sure there's something redemptive about it. And so that's kind of my take on that. Let me know to shut up too, man, because I
Oh yeah,
this
you're
is my
good. You're
passion.
good.
I'll go on and on about this stuff, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I guess this is the final warning shot that I am sending out here. We're officially in the spoiler zone. So like I've got the ticker going on. I literally just made that like as you were talking right there.
I see
So
it.
but anyway, so now let's get into the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, I highly recommend you pause it, click the link in the description, go past the paywall. Yeah, guys, I am not an artsy guy. Like I do not have a poet's heart. I do not have an artist's heart, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film. So I would be so bold as to say, like, pay the money to watch it, and if you are unsatisfied, send me an email and I will Venmo you the money back. So like this is coming with my guarantee that you will enjoy this. So you mentioned a little bit how this film started off with the premise of losing everything. So let's go from there.
Yeah. So I'm assuming the viewers have watched. So
Yeah, so like at this
so
point, if y'all are watching, you've seen it. If not, that's on you.
it's on you. It's on you.
Yeah.
So the film, it's kind of like you have this character. He's in this predicament. It begins immediately in the middle of some kind of crisis, some sort of home invasion. And there's no story. There's no reason. I don't give an explanation of why this is happening. We don't know why these people were there. We don't know the backstory. All we see is this man is in this crisis. He comes to, and his family's dead. And he's trying to kind of get his bearings and figure out what's going on. And he sees this hammer, and he sees the bodies of his wife and daughter. And as I said before, it's kind of like, it's a sort of like a meditation on if you lost everything. I have a family. What if I lost my family? What do I have? You know? And so this guy loses everything. He's got nothing left to lose. He just goes out in a fit of rage. He hears these voices coming from outside of the house, and he puts two and two together. Whoever did this, these are the people that did it. And he goes out there and whatever's left in him, he's going to take them out too. And he can't even do that. These guys outnumber him. It's just miserable. They kill him. You know, they bash his brains in out there. So it's kind of like the worst scenario. It's like it's kind of reflective of just how life is sometimes. Like sometimes you just don't know why things happen. You're in a crisis and you don't know why. There's no explanation, but here you are. And not even that. Sometimes you're just powerless to like even do anything about it. And just things sometimes end very badly. And so the question for me is that it? Is that it? And it's like, and then you obviously see what happens. No, it's not it. The music changes. The little girl standing in the field, she's not dead anymore. She's alive. Not just her, but her mother. She's alive too. And then there's these beings are there. We don't know who they are, or, where they came from, but there they are. And it's kind of like, and then they kind of take control of the situation. They go after these bad guys and overpower them with something supernatural, something that these evil people, they have no control over, something that actually overpowers them. And so what this is it's and then obviously you see they surround the bad guys, and the main kind of being reaches out to him and gives him this vision. and this guy sees, like, this montage of images, and the viewer, if you pay careful attention, there's a lot of like graveyards and cemeteries and things like that, and so we know something's happening. The ground is rumbling, and things are building, and then these images get faster and faster until, like, you get to the end. Now you see the girl, you see the man, he's back to life. You see these other people. It's not just them. It's all these other people. We don't even know their stories, but they're here. And so the whole thing is kind of a meditation on the resurrection. This is the thing that you cannot stop. It does not matter what happens on this side of eternity. You could die horribly. You could be a martyr, a Coptic martyr who gets beheaded, and your blood just spills out, and it seems like it's all for nothing. It's not. And the thing you cannot stop what's coming is the resurrection of the dead. That is coming like a wave, and it does not matter what evil does. It does not matter. None of that matters. There's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. And so that's what this film is about. It's about loss, deep loss, and the fact that we have the promise of God, and it is coming, and it's not gonna, it will arrive. So
yeah, no, actually one of the things that really stuck out to me is actually like the montage like after that. And there was one image that I saw in there that I actually like rewound and paused it, and it was the tombstone of the 17-year-old girl. Is there any like special significance behind that one, or?
No, not at all. Actually, I didn't even know that. I went to a local cemetery and just filmed randomly. So that's the first time I even made that connection from what you were telling me.
Yeah. So like the entire thing so like, okay, so now like, you know what you were trying to communicate, but I suppose like with art, it's always the case of once it's out there, like you kind of, I mean, you don't have any more control over it. Like it's its own creation. It's kind of got a mind of its own, and people are going to receive it how they're going to receive it. And 1,000 different people are going to watch it, and they're going to walk away with possibly 1,000 minor different things. Hopefully they all catch the main gist. But like the entire thing to me was just a memento mori, because it was just like you said, the main character here, everything was taken from him, and he goes out for revenge, possibly justice, whatever, and he doesn't get it. Like, like Nick Highlander here is saying, it's like a retelling of Job. And it's just like, yeah, that's super profound. And then of course, like you said, like he dies like that. Like if this was just a normal story, like, modern, nihilist, whatever, that's a crappy story right there. Guy gets his family killed. He goes to get revenge. He fails. He dies. The end. Except like, that's like halfway through the story here. Like there's more. And, and it was just the fact that like, I kind of took I think in the credits, they're called the strangers that show up. Like they come out and like heavily imply that they kill the mercenaries too. And it's like, it doesn't matter. The innocent, the guilty, like death's coming for us all. And like, whenever I said like, you can't stop what's coming, like a little bit, like that kind of stuck with me a little bit of just like, as I'm living my life, like I can't stop the death that's coming, but then also like you said, the general resurrection and, I mean, ultimately like the judgment, like that's coming, and like, you can't stop it. Try, get all the money that you want, kill everybody, be a good person, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is coming. And, I thought that was a very powerful reminder for like everyone. And it's just like, I can't off the top of my head, I can't think of any other film that has like had that much of a like communicated that idea in such a visceral way. Like, I mean, like, seeing a dead wife and child, like as a husband and father, like that's just like, I don't even, but it ends with hope. And then like and like I said, like whenever I saw the tombstone of the 17-year-old girl, it was just like the good, the just, the old, the young, it doesn't matter. Like it could happen anytime. And like, I very much appreciate, like I said, like whenever you shared it on Facebook, I was just like, that was the best $2 I've spent in a very long time. And it was just like, more people need to know about this. So so I guess that's a little bit like that, a thank you for that, because it's just like in this day and age where, typically, movies nowadays, like everything mainstream is just trash. Like even the mainstream Hollywood stuff, it's just like, just forget about it. And but yeah, no, like, so I really, really appreciate that you were doing that. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything onto that or what, but
Dude, I'm so thankful, man, that you took a chance and just clicked that link and just got something out of it. And I love it when people have their own interpretations and stuff too. I wish I could play it, but I told them I'd keep it confident. Before I went public with the film, I sent it to a bunch of atheists I knew, like several like high profile skeptics. And hey, what do you guys think of this? And they really enjoyed it, and they kind of picked up some of the religious themes.
Mhm.
But one of them is a professor at a college, and he uses film in his classes, and he says he's going to be using this, and he kind of explores like philosophy, religion, and the problem of evil, and and they picked up on a lot of those themes in there,
Yeah.
But hearing different takes on the story, I love that, because it's kind of like a song. There's some of the great songs, like they kind of leave the lyrics open, and the I like being able to interpret my own meaning into what you're listening to or what you're seeing. So
Right.
that's cool, man. Your take is the first one I've heard in that way. Usually, I've had some strange ones, but that one was that's cool, man. I did not think of it that way, so that's
Oh,
really
wow.
cool. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's if you can share, and I understand if you can't, can you share like some of the stranger takes that you've heard on it?
I'm trying to remember. There was one. It was oh, I'm going blank, man. There's one in particular. Oh shoot, I can't remember. It was I was like, wow, that's what you got out of that? Oh man, I cannot remember what it was, but it was it's been a while, because I sent it to a few people for some early viewing, just to kind of get some feedback to see if there's anything I need to fix. Gosh, I wish I could remember what it might have been a family member that watch it, and they're like, and I think they didn't put. I think it was something like where they didn't even realize that that little girl was the same one on the floor. So everything got skewed. So when she's back in the field alive, like, didn't you see the picture of her in the beginning on the portrait? Like, so I think that skewed. I can't remember that their interpretation was so skewed because they didn't make that connection. So it was something really bizarre. I'm like, I thought I gave you clues. So I can't remember what it was, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
So it was something bizarre, man.
Do you have any like, were there, you said the filming experience was pretty easy. Like, so the actors, like, I guess, how does I think we're kind of out of the spoiler zone a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. But I think like, I guess how does that go? Like, did you just put out like a general casting call? Is that a like, were there any funny things that happened on set, or any like cool experiences that people had?
So with the casting, I ended up getting a lot of them on Facebook. Believe it or not, there's a website I usually use first. It's called Backstage, and it's kind of like a big database of actors all over the country in different regions. And you put casting calls. It's very, very systematized. And I don't think I got hardly anybody on there. None of the main actors. It might have been like a few extras. But the main actor, the main bad guy, that dude, I got him, the woman, and the main stranger from a Facebook group called the ATL Thunderdome. And the reason, it's a private group. It's a bunch of Atlanta actors and film people, and Atlanta is very. There's a buzz there, man. There's just no shortage of talent, but it's a private group. So through a friend of a friend who came locally, who came to my town, he would dabble in like finance, and he also dabbled in like gaffing. And gaffing is like they handle the lighting on a film set.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was here where I live, and we met up a couple times. He's done some acting, and I just like networking with people. So we connected, and then he moved back to Atlanta, and he started his own. He's got his own grip company, and grip is like they supply like film equipment, lighting, light stands, all that kind of stuff. And he got me into this Facebook group. And so it was kind of like, wow, this is awesome. So when I came into the group, I could see there's a lot of talent there. And I put my casting call, and a bunch of people bit. But that one guy, the main bad guy, his name is Jesse Gallegos. He messaged me, hey man, I saw your casting call, and I'm good friends with so and so, and I think he's a cool guy, so I'd like to try out for it. And he gave me his reel, and I didn't know who he was, and I'm like, I click his reel, and I'm like, holy crap, dude's been in The Walking Dead, not as a zombie, but like speaking roles, like as a character. He was in Greyhound with Tom Hanks. He was in a show on Hulu called Candy. He played a lawyer with Jessica Biel. He's in a show. I can't remember what network it's on. It's called Panhandle. It's like a dark comedy, and all these like speaking roles and like pretty decent roles. Like he was on like Disney Channel. He played some like luchador or something. But I was like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna be able to afford you. I'm flattered that you reached out, but there's no way I can afford you. And he was super cool, man. He gave me a really good rate. And he said, like, don't let any of that worry you. I do some of these indie things on the side. And it turns out he's got a production company. He just loves the craft, and he makes his own stuff. He does like theater as well. He's just a cool dude. So that worked out. And then several of the other people, the guy who played the main being, he's in a lot of stuff, a lot of like regional commercials and stuff, and very good actors. And I got a lot of those through Facebook, man. And
that's pretty cool.
And, yeah, it ended up working out good. And it just kind of, it's just confirmation to me that like God is with me, and this is his providence, that little bit of sugar on top. Like, hey, this is the way, walk in it. Here's some bonus stuff that you don't expect until you take that leap of faith, and it just kind of unfolds. So, a funny story, not really funny for me, but it was very stressful for me. Was I almost pulled the plug on the whole project like a week before we were to shoot, because this was around the time where it was fresh off of. Did you hear what happened on that film set with Alec Baldwin?
Yeah, I think everybody has.
Yeah. So that like was pretty in recent memory. And on our film, we had guns. Right. And I'm like, and we have a child on set. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should get insurance. And I'm like trying to get insurance, and nobody would insure the set with weapons or stunts of any kind. You're on your own. And I'm like, okay, I have a child. We have weapons. We're shooting blanks. They were shooting blanks on Rust with Alec Baldwin. They thought they were. Mm-hmm. So, all that stuff's going through your head. And that wasn't the clincher, though. The clincher for me was the farm we were filming on. It's in the middle of nowhere. This is summer. We shot it in July. And it dawned on me to ask the guy, the farmer who owned the property. I was like, hey, man, what's your snake situation like? Oh. And he's like, we got diamondbacks out here. A couple of weeks ago, my niece, her dog got bit and killed by a diamondback. And I'm like, I had just gone there. The grass was like, and you're in the middle of nowhere. There's like that flower field, all that is just there. And there's diamondback rattlesnakes on this land. And I was just like worried to death. And I could not, I was like, I have a child. This is on me. I can't get insurance. I'm just going to call it. We can't do it. We can't take a chance on this. And my wife ended up having to like smack me and like encourage me. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it was okay. We didn't see a single snake. All we had were like some gnats. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Nice.
But yeah.
Nice. So, okay. So you won some awards with this film at some film festivals. I guess walk us through that process a little bit. Like, so how do you get into a film festival? And then I saw the Facebook post that you made, but like the actual like category of the award, like I couldn't quite read it because it was like white on white. So I guess like walk us through that whole thing.
Yeah, so with a film festival, you pay to get on them, and it's not super expensive, and it just kind of like it helps. I see two good reasons for it. It gives a little bit of exposure for your film, and it helps build your brand. So I see it as kind of like a way to build your CV.
Hmm.
So if you put a film out there, obviously this film is not going to be in theaters, but people want to know, like, they want to know if you've been tested. They want to see if you have a reputation. And so I go on. There's a database that I go on to that has all these film festivals all over the world, and you kind of upload your project, you upload a profile, and then you just kind of hunt and look for film festivals that will suit you, that will be like beneficial for you. There's different tiers. There's stuff that's just like super low budget stuff. There's like they don't even have an in person. Some of them I think are scams because some of them are just like, I think people fundraise with them. They give you this cheap little like award. It's all an online award. It's one of those little laurel things, but you don't see. There's very little information about the films that win, but you still have to pay them to get into their film festival. So I think they might fundraise that way. And then you have stuff all the way up to like Sundance and things like that,
Hmm.
and these bigger, well known ones, but they're all on there. And so I entered ones I like. I think I could reasonably do okay in. There's a lot of good
Hmm.
material out there, and I did enter. I did enter Tribeca. You miss all the shots you don't take, and I got
Right.
rejected. There's so
Wow.
much good stuff out there, but some of the other ones though, my vision for Signal Films is to create content that is not in the church. I want to put stuff out in the public marketplace. And so I really try to look for secular film festivals that I think my
Yeah.
film will fit into. And so all the ones that I've won in have been secular. I got rejected at two faith-based film festivals. I was shocked. I was like, wow,
Too
okay.
violent.
You guys, maybe that's what it was. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, all right. But
Well,
the other there, yeah, go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add a little bit of a thought to that, because like I was talking about, like how usually faith based is just a euphemism for mediocre, and but it's that all beauty comes from God. Like God is the source of all beauty. So if you are making something beautiful, it is like necessarily like from God. And now you might have added some your own corruption into it in the case of like something horrible like pornography or something like that. But like, I'm not saying, yeah, but like, so in that regard, like, as long as you're setting out to make something good, true, and beautiful, like, then that's still going to draw the mind. That's going to draws people's minds up. And and I love going back to the Lord of the Rings because the overtly Christian themes in the Lord of the Rings. I mean, one of my favorite things to talk about is Gandalf in the Mines of Moria, where he's standing on the bridge, yelling in the face of like burning evil hatred, and just screaming, "You shall not pass!" And it kills him. And then, of course, he comes back in glory later on in the story. And it's just like, I mean, that's one of just like the not so subtle nods. But at the same time, you still have these nerds online who are atheists, and they've fallen in love with this story that's so clearly like a mirror of Christ. And I think there's definitely a place for that, for people who take their faith seriously. And like, it's so encouraging to see people like you who are like filling that need, honestly.
Yeah, and what you just said is pretty much the motto of Signal Films. Is we want to tell stories of the good, the true, and the beautiful, and that's kind of like that's sort of like the baseline. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, what I want to do is kind of operate within a spectrum. And
Mhm.
so what that means is like the example I bring is like on Sundays we're at church, but on Saturdays we're on the boat. All of that
Mhm.
glorifies God. Sundays is our pious activity, and Saturday is just us having just leisure, having fun with each other. And
Mhm.
so the stories I want to tell are, some of it's going to be pious and overt, and
Right.
very, like I mentioned before, some of it maybe even apologetic, and then some of it will be there's no religious reference really at all, maybe in a subtle way, but there's still going to be sort of like these broader like themes of the good, the true, the beautiful, something redemptive in the story. and that's sort of like that's the vision. And I think there's that old saying: you kick God out of the front door, he comes in through the window. It's like you were saying with these nerdy atheist guys, they're watching Lord of the Rings. It's like you can't help yourself. If something is good, it's going to. There's something. It's hard to resist. You're gonna appreciate it. You're gonna get something out of it. And so that's kind of what I want to do with Signal Films, is kind of create this brand that it's sort of we're operating in the marketplace, and there's things out there that are universal. You know what I mean? We're telling stories that there's a universal appeal, but then it's going to kind of bring you back to the other stuff I do. You know what I mean? It's creating a brand, and I like this product. Oh, here's some other products, and this is where it's more overt or whatever. But either way, I think Christians, we really don't have to. We don't have to sermonize. We could just kind of just tell good stories, man. Let them breathe, and let them do their thing. It'll draw people,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I guess to quote King of the Hill on the topic of like Christian rock is like, you're not making Christianity, you're just making rock and roll worse. So like, yeah, I guess it's like, if you're going to go in, like if you take your faith seriously, you're going to be making films, like, make something that's good, true, and beautiful, but don't, I guess, like you said, don't sermonize it. And, so yeah. Oh yeah. So sorry, my son just wandered in. So this is number 4 here. Looks like he's leaving us. Okay, cool.
That's awesome.
Or not. Okay. I don't know. At this age, they don't know what they're doing. So yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. As we're winding down here, is there anything else that you wanted to plug? I forgive me for at least taking the shot. Noah mentioned at the very beginning that, you got some other things in the works. Can you give us a little tiny sneak peek of what you got coming next?
I do. I'm working on a couple short things, and that's strategic because I want to keep producing content, and films take a lot of work. I liken it to kind of every film is like a custom built house that's never existed, and you don't have the materials for it. So you have to go out and find this, like, I want to build this Dr. Seuss style house. You can't go to Home Depot and get Dr. Seuss housewares. You have to build them. And so when you make a film, you're kind of like, it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of planning. So I want to make smaller, more manageable things, but at least I get the feeling that I'm making something. So I got a couple little short things. One of them I'll kind of tell you a little bit. The other one, I want people to join my Patreon. And one of the tiers is I will share some of the projects I'm working on. You'll get a little bit of behind the scenes, and you'll see kind of like what the things I'm working on. So the one I'll share about is a G.K. Chesterton quote. I'm making a film with that quote, and I love the quote. And it's really weird because I know you're Catholic and I'm Protestant. So I dabble with a lot of like people would probably think I'm a Catholic by some of my tastes and in the vision of this film company. But it's kind of funny. Me and Noah were kind of joking about that on the phone a few months ago. But it's a short based on a beautiful G.K. Chesterton quote, and it just stays with me. And so I'm going to use that quote as a voiceover, and you're going to watch all these things. And when I first saw the quote, I was just like, so I'm hoping to recreate that for the viewer.
Nice. So. Yeah. Well, I suppose it's one of those good, true, and beautiful, as long as you're going for that. Like, I suppose if that's your goal, like it's kind of hard to go wrong unless it's just like a failure to execute. So yeah. And Chesterton's got a lot of really cool stuff. I assume that you were intentionally vague about which quote it was, and that's fine. But one of my favorite quotes that I quote it all the time. I believe it was in his book about heretics. Oh,
right, yeah, I'm listening.
So I believe it was in his book about heretics, where he was talking about how people were criticizing him for making jokes about serious situations. And his response to that was not like, this stuff shouldn't be taken seriously. He's like, no, you can be both funny and serious at the same time. The opposite of funny is not serious. The opposite of funny.
Hold on 1 second. I'm listening.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep talking to the audience here.
Sorry. My
Yeah,
kids
you're
are
good.
looking for the remote.
Yeah. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you here. So, okay, you're back. All right, I'm gonna unmute you.
Yep.
All right, sweet. But anyway, so he's saying that the opposite of funny is not serious. The opposite of funny is simply not funny. And I go back to that all the time because it's like it's okay to joke about some serious topics, you know, as long as you're doing so tastefully. So anyway, I love Chesterton. So
this quote is from Orthodoxy,
Ooh,
but I don't want to tell you. I want it to hit the viewer. Just let them just marinate on it.
Okay. Do you have a time frame on whenever that's going to be available?
So I have. I don't. So right now I'm working on. I have like the piece of music, and I'm trying to like decide on visuals. So once I have like sort of the storyboard, like I know what I'm going to shoot, then I'm going to execute and shooting it. And there's going to be a lot of different like. It's sort of a montage. You're going to be seeing different things happening. So it's going to be that gets a little tricky to shoot. You got to plan around that. You can't do everything in one day. If it's I got to go over here to get this, and so hopefully within I would say 6 months. I hope it's in the can and doing its thing. And that's a very generous. It should be before that, but I would say within 4 to 6 months.
Nice. Okay. Well,
somewhere in there.
Okay. So if people want to find out more about you, where can they go?
Okay. So I have a Facebook and I have an Instagram. You guys can connect with me there, and just stay tuned. Also, maybe I could just throw on my my Facebook, my personal one. I do a lot of chatting on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's going to be a Patreon in the description. And you guys can hop in there. Filmmaking is expensive if you want to do it well, so it takes a lot of support. But I feel like, especially as people of faith, I feel like this is very needed, and I hope you guys, the viewers, can appreciate, the vision here and what I'm trying to do, and try to make good art.
I would much rather, support someone like you as opposed to, some people who like seemingly just want to, I don't know, like drag our kids through the gutter. And it's just like, I don't know, like it's quite disheartening to see, like, especially like what's happened to Disney and stuff like that. And it's, yeah, but anyway, I really appreciate what you're doing. I've got some links in the description now. I got to get your Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that added. If you're watching this in the future, you'll probably see it if you want to do it. But yeah. So do you want to close anything? Do you want to add any parting thoughts as we close out?
I just had something. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Here, let me just put you on the spot here.
Just I want to talk about, like, just share the value of art, and you'll see this on my Patreon. I got a little blurb when you come in, and just growing up, seeing things like I think of like the 60s and how I would say art and culture are really what influences society, not politics. I think art and culture influence politics. They're downstream. And so it's kind of like, I remember just reflecting on my own life, the things I was attracted to before I came to faith. And, I think of like some of the rap music I would listen to. And I just remember an artist has a way of painting the world and showing you what could be, showing you a possibility, a role for you to play. And I remember listening to these lyrics and seeing this world that this lyricist was painting. And I bought into that. I wanted to be this guy or somebody like that. And so I see like the value, like a Christian, on the other hand, is we can paint a world that's gospel infused. And we can paint it, a beautiful world that people want buy-in. They want to be a part of that. And it's kind of like, I think when Christians are utilizing artistic mediums, that's better than politics, because art is what influences politics. And so if you can create something beautiful that people want to be a part of, they can see themselves in, I think you've really done something for the kingdom. And that's just the value of art. So
Yeah. But I think that's really beautiful. And I think that's a great note to end on. So for those of you watching live and in the future, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching. God bless. And this will eventually